Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. So your kids have gone back to school, and now it's time for us to raid their crafty stash. Today we're going to be making a project with Crayola watercolors and kids markers. I hope you'll stay tuned. So I have this house mouse stamp called Fall Commuter that one of my friends sent me. It's really cute and colorful. It will be colorful when we're done. I'm going to be using Rubbernecker. It's felt ultra white watercolor paper. It's really nice for rubber stamp projects. It's not good for acrylic stamps, but it's a nice watercoloring paper. And we're going to be using it. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and it's a rougher paper than I normally use for stamping. I'm going to use this side because it's a little bit less textured than that side. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. It's white. I doubt if you can. I'm going to be using this archival basic gray ink from Stampin' Up, and we're going to stamp all of our image with it. I think it's upside down if I'm looking at it properly. I just want to make sure that we have an outline of our images, and the way I like to do this is I like to take my paper and lay it right on top, holding my thumb on it. I don't know if you saw that, my thumb was on this part, and then I like to rub over it with my hand. This gives you a nice clean image, and because it's such a big background stamp, this is a 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 size stamp, you want to make sure that you get a good impression of it. And I'll be honest with you, I never can get a good impression of a wood stamp if I stamp it the other way, you know, like with it on top of the paper versus under the paper. And then you just pick it up like that, and there's our image. Now we are going to be taking some of this out. I want to put it on a background of like designer paper so that it's not just this image. I want to have some more colors on it. And while I'm talking, I'm cleaning my stamp, because with archival ink you want to make sure you clean it right away. I'm going to put a little bit of hand sanitizer from the Dollar Tree on one of my cloths that I keep on my chair, and then you're just going to wipe over it, and you'll see when I'm done, you'll see how much gray comes off that did not clean off with my regular stamp cleaner, which is, it's 1 part baby shampoo to 10 parts water. Really, it's more like a teaspoon of baby shampoo in my pump container, so it's not a lot of baby shampoo. And then you can see I put just like a teaspoon in there. It's not much, but it really does foam up enough that you don't have to worry about it. And if you use it only for rubber stamps, I recommend you put a little bit of glycerin in there, or after you're done cleaning your stamp, I recommend that you get your Versamark ink pad and just stamp all over it to make sure that it's conditioned. And you can just leave that on so that it keeps your rubber stamp from getting dried out and cracking. That's my scoop for you. Learned that from Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter. I learned just about everything I know from her, as probably a lot of you do. Okay, so what we're going to play with first, I think I gave it enough time to dry. I have right in front of me, I have it's a ceramic tile, and I'm going to be mixing colors on that, and then I have a little bit of water here too. And I just want to make sure that everything's in place. Then I'm going to be using some markers. I'm going to scribble those out on the tile too, because I don't want to have, you know, when you're using kids tools, they use a lot of primary colors, and I want to have, you know, more diversity in my colors than just your basic red, brown, green. You know, I want to have a little bit more variety, if you know what I'm saying. Luckily, I found a gray marker, which is shocking because I didn't think there were any gray markers in my Crayola stash. I'm going to use this for my little mice, and once we wet it, it should be much lighter. And I'm going to be using these Cornell round. This one is a 3 and this one is a 5, and they're watercolor brushes. You want to just put a little bit of water on this to liquefy your gray, and then we're just going to go in and kind of color in our little fella. I do want to make the tips of their nose dark, but I think I'm going to be using, maybe, I could be lying because you never know. The last time I tried to use this stuff, I couldn't get it to come out of the bottle. This Irresistible Pico Embellisher. I might be using that. I might not. It depends on if it wants to come out of the container or not. Okay, then we're going to do leaves, and I'm going to wipe off my tile and rinse out my brush to make sure I don't have any colors in my brush. And I think I might try some greens. I'm going to put some greens on my tile, different greens, and then I'm going to add the green that comes in the watercolor palette. I'm going to put that all in there and see if we can get a green that's not over the top. It's a little over the top still. I'm going to see if I can put some more of this in and see if it'll tone it down a little bit. I'm not really sure what the watercolors are made out of from Crayola, but they do just feel to me like there's some kind of gelatin-like substance in them. I think the brown is what I needed to make this more olivey. Okay, now I'm going to wipe off. Now I'm going to grab another one of my tiles because I might need that green at some point in the future. Okay, this one we're going to take some of the brown from the palette that's super dark, and I'm going to add this. It's like a burnt orange color, and I'm going to mix those together and see what we get. I think I'm going to add a little bit of orange in there too. I'll use this brush and just put some of that in there. This definitely doesn't feel like regular watercolor, I'll tell you that much. It's very gummy. I'm going to let that dry for a second, and I'm going to add some highlights. We're going to let this dry, and then I'm going to go over some of the areas that I need to re-darken, like the gray, the squirrels that got a little bit of blue in them. I'm going to wipe that off and just make sure that it looks like it should after it's dry. I'll be back in a minute. So I wanted to do something on the front with the mice, and I thought what would be fun would be to use this stamp set from Lawn Fawn called Chit Chat. They're word bubbles. And I'm going to use Hi there on the outside, and then on the inside I'm going to be using the one that says, I think it says Thinking of You, and I wanted to use one of these little birds on the inside. These little fun little birds. I thought it would be fun to just put that in the inside, just with a little bit more interest, using the same gray ink pad I used before. And here's my card. I want to stamp it in the kind of up and down position. It's going to be a top fold card. Get that other magnet out of there. Yeah, I know you thought I should have gotten it out first, because I thought I should have too. Don't think that I'm not thinking these things when I do these stupid things. I do think about them as I do them. Alright, I'm going to put the birdie and the Thinking of You bubble up near the top. Move that a little bit over. And then, this is the first time I've used these, so the chances of that Thinking of You stamp doing a nice job of stamping the first time is probably pretty low, because I haven't really played with them. But really, it looks like it's taking ink pretty well. There's one little spot that doesn't look like it is. You can always re-ink, but right now it looks kind of bizarre. See? Kind of weird. So I'm going to just stamp it again, and hopefully this time we'll get the center of it to accept the ink. Doesn't look like it is. I'll show you what I do when I don't get stamps to accept ink. And here's my system. First thing I do is I use my cleanser that I make myself, and I wash it off basically. The bird does a nice job, so I'm going to take the bird off. We don't need it anymore. Then I take a very fine nail file. Now these could be those ones that you buy at the Dollar Tree. They look like this, and I just kind of gently go over the top of it, especially in the spot that doesn't want to accept any ink. And then we'll be able to see the difference. On the right you can see the difference. Of course you have to wipe it off again once you've scuffed it a little bit. On the right is the one that we had the first time. Do it one more time. We'll see what we get this time. Well, it's better than it was. You don't want to scuff it enough that you're going to ruin the surface of the stamp, because you don't want to end up having like a scratch mark on your stamp. That is the most frustrating thing about acrylic stamps, is sometimes you just have that problem. Let me try and see if that makes a difference. Okay, and since I didn't fix it completely, I'm just going to go for a marker. Maybe I'll see if that gray marker I have with my Crayolas, if that will work. It's pretty close. Sometimes when you're doing this, you just have to be able to come up with an alternate plan. Because this one just did not want to play. Don't know why, just did not. And that's archival ink. Archival ink should have really stuck to that stamp, I mean a permanent adhesive. And that's what it looks like. It's stained, which you would expect, but that's what it looks like clean. If you use archival ink, you will stain your stamps. Okay, got that out. And now I'm going to color my birdie, I think with a marker. This is the color we use on the sun, or yeah, on the sun. On the sun! No, we use that on the sky. So I'm going to do most of our bird. I'm using a water brush now, which I should have used before, but didn't. These are the things I do wrong. And I'm just going to kind of go in near the bottom and put the darker blue. Like that. And then we need to do an orangish beak. That's the thing you love about kids' markers, is everything is super duper bright. Here's its beak. Then we're going to let that part dry. Good enough. I think I want to put a little bit of ribbon on it on the side. Here's my plan. I have this, it's from the corrugated stack from Die Cuts with a View. You can find this in, usually in all of your big box stores, they'll sell pads of it, and I think this is like maybe 7 inches by 6 inches. It's a nice size, and I like it when I'm trying to get dimension, and I want the dimension to be kind of interesting looking, and this is, I think, pretty interesting looking. And so, oh, that's the wrong one. Jeepers creepers, made up the wrong one. I already put some tear tape on the back of one of these, and I wanted to put some more wet glue on it as well, because this stuff does have a tendency to not want to adhere very well. So if you're wondering, that's a scoop there. It doesn't like to stick down if it can avoid it. It'll fight you, is what I'm saying. And the other reason I like to put wet glue on here is it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, so if you've glued it down and went, oh geez, what was I thinking there, you can move it around a little bit. Okay. I was going to put like buttons and ribbon down, but I don't know. Let me show you what it looks like. I was going to offset it and then do something right in here. What do you think about that? Everybody want to vote? The voting is open. I think I'm going to wet glue this down, and while I'm looking at it, I'll cut out my little sentiment that's thought bubble. What you call it? Speech bubble, thought bubble, whatever. I always think it's a thought bubble because I didn't think people actually said those things that were above their heads. But maybe it's a speech bubble. We'll go with it. I'm just throwing glue all over the place. I had a hard time getting my mice to really show up. They were really not, they just didn't want to show up. So I took some of that gray, it's not enough glue on the edges. I took some of the gray marker and I just went around the outside. I'm going to put the glass tiles that I used to color with, I'm going to put those over this to ensure that they stay adhered until they're dry. Okay, there's that. So now what I'm going to do while I'm thinking about it is I'm going to get ribbon or buttons and decide if I want to do something over there. I have a couple buttons out, but I don't know. I just don't know yet. So let me play with that and I'll be back in a minute. So that's what our card looks right now, and I found these little, I'll call them stickers. I don't know what they are. They're like a little 3D, I don't know, acrylic thing. I think a lot of your kids should have these. At least that's what I'm voting on, that they like this kind of stuff too. And if they don't, then I probably bought it at the Dollar Tree. I thought I would just put 3 green ones on the side just to kind of accentuate our design. And then I think this little fella at the bottom is the one who's saying something, and he's saying, "Hi there." And I put him up on those dots, and I went around the outside edge with the gray marker so that it looks gray on all sides. Oops, I forgot this side. I was going to show you how to do that. These are the things I do wrong, because now I'll probably end up with it all over. Oh well, we're going to shoot for it anyway. All you're going to do is you're going to take your marker and very gently just go around the edge like that to get all the way to the bottom, and that will ensure that you can't see anything but gray. Well, it's almost black, but this is the color. So that is our project with your kids' tools. Nothing but kids' tool except for the paper and the stamp, the ink pad I mean. I hope you enjoyed this, that you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please tell your friends about me on social media, because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.